Hello and welcome to the video for Monday, September 28th for After Effects. I'm going to go ahead and open up the waiting room.
Good morning.
Hello.
It's me, Rodney.
How you guys doing today?
I'm hanging in there still.
That's always good. It beats the alternative, right?
Most definitely.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and take your attendance real quick and then we'll get started with the class. Um, let's see. And Courtney, can you turn on your microphone for just a sec?
Yes.
Okay. So Courtney, did I ask, I'm trying to get my record straight here, but did you ever, did I ask you about if you ever showed up at my physical classroom?
No, I didn't.
You-
I sent you an email through the website, but I'm thinking it didn't go through because I never got a response.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought in the back of my mind, I thought you told me you didn't, so I don't know where that information went, so I just wanted to double check. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Um, okay, let me just go ahead and put everybody into the attendance here, and then we'll get started. Okay. This. Checking all this stuff. Okay, and then we can click on this, and this, and this, and I think we're good. Okay, all right. So, let me go to the class website here, and dreamco.com, and go to After Effects. Okay, so, okay, admit these folks. So Luz, I have you down for a presentation. I can't remember if you did yours or not already. Did you do one yet?
No, I haven't done mine yet.
Okay, and do you have one ready?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Would you like to share your screen and give your presentation?
yeah.
Okay.
So share my screen. Okay. Oh, you have to enable it.
Oh, right. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, it should be enabled now.
All right. All right. Can everyone see?
I can.
All right.
Yep.
How do you?
Over on the right, top right, present.
Oh yeah. Haven't used this in a while. All right. So After Effects. So After Effects is the creation of animation, visual effects, and motion picture composition. Usually used in TVs and films and web creation. It was developed in 1990. At first there was a creation of two versions of After Effects, but then later on in 1995 the creation of 3.0 was created. And then in the bottom there's a picture of when it was created in 1994 with Koza. And then now it's the logo of After Effects to the right. So in Adobe After Effects in the 90s, it was created in 1993. People were limited to how much was able to be used in After Effects, such as masking, effects, transformations, and keyframes. Though that's the only sources provided in this program, and it was only for Mac-based computers in the 90s. There was also something called Autodesk Flame, which was another program to create visual effects, and it was demanded by most customers because they didn't really rely on Adobe since there was such limited effects you can use with it. And then I'm going to show you a video. This was a training video for the After Effects version 3.0.
Are we supposed to hear some stuff?
We can't hear any audio, Luz.
Oh, it's fine. Just the visual.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just to get to see how it was in the 90s.
Okay.
Okay. So you have that one, and then so then using After Effects, you have motion graphics, 2D and 3D animations, character animation, kinetic typography, which we did, and visual effects, and UI and UX mockup animation. So for Disney movies, they used a lot of motion graphics, like how it shows the little tiger here, which I don't know what Disney movie because I didn't watch Disney movies as a kid.
Jungle
And
Book. It's Jafar.
uh, and so it's basically creating movement through a photo or video. A traditional, how do you say it? A traditional composition. So you're manipulating imagery by combining layers of video and images into the same scene. And then visual effects, these are some examples. So we have Godzilla. And visual effects. Jurassic World, which is kind of funny. And then The Walking Dead uses visual effects too. Oh, it's over here. So we have at 50. So right here we're Michonne.
Oh. Oh.
So there's Michonne with the walkers and how little components create the walker.
Jesus.
And then we have the scene where a helicopter is flying down, which will appear, I think it's at 40 seconds. And then we have the composition of the prison where they are. Mm.
Wow.
Very intense, yes. And And then, well, more examples, like the Avengers. I thought this was pretty funny. The Hulk, Thor and Hulk. I didn't really think it was gonna be like that. So there's that. Green screen. And then also there's an example of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where they use this. And then Avatar and Alice in Wonderland. It's pretty much green screen. And then what's gonna be new in the new version of After Effects, which will come out in May 2021. There's taper shape strokes, centric shape repeater, import and edit raw media, enabling share in cloud documents. So the taper shape strokes is where they were creating the strokes right here in this one, this top image, and then later on they write it down here. So they were in the video, like they create the compositions for the stroke and how they want it. And then that's the result. And then there's a neon sign, and that's the example of the centric shape repeater. And it looks like this. Pretty short. And then these are my sources.
All right, very nice. Woo. Good job. You did a lot of research, huh?
Yeah.
So you found some things you didn't expect, like that funny looking Hulk and everything?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Well, thank you. You did a really good job. It looks really nice.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. So I'm going to share my screen again. And okay, so I was asked if I would share some examples of previous student work, specifically about Project 2, the project you guys are working on right now, which is about traveling to, some kind of fantastic place. So let's see, I'm just looking at the notes here from the chat. So Joey says, crazy how some of these shows use After Effects and I never would have known. Yeah. I mean, After Effects is, it's been called Photoshop with a timeline. And you can see where they might call it that, because like in Photoshop, you can do all these effects like make a glow. But of course, it just sits there on the page because it's Photoshop, right? But in After Effects, you can animate that glow. So that's what I think of when I think of Photoshop with a timeline. Oh, yeah, it says, CC says Photoshop does have a timeline option. Yeah, they do. In Photoshop, you can do animations. Especially, it's really good for making GIF animations. And actually, this is crazy, but you can actually open video in Photoshop. I never knew that until a little while ago. But After Effects is sort of more geared towards, Photoshop is still focused on being an image manipulation program, even though it does have things like the timeline. But After Effects is all about the timeline. It's all about, motion and doing special effects over time. And combining, audio and video and all these things. So it's how Photoshop is like an essential tool for graphic designers. Well, After Effects is an essential tool for people in film and video and things like that, because they're, it's just at the core of so many things they do. Okay, let's see. So anyway, a student asked me if I would share some Project 2 examples of, the travel ad from a previous class. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of that. Let me go over here to this. Okay, so we have a few examples here. They're all different, so we'll just watch them and maybe they'll spark some ideas in some of you guys. Let's check them out. Okay, so there was one. Let's see, here is another one. Okay, a couple.
That was great.
Yeah, a couple of nice fantasy ones, huh? Yeah, and the music really fit that one, I thought. And I'm a big proponent of people getting their music as soon as possible in a project because it can be synchronized to your animations and things like that. So if you already have your idea and you've started to get some visual assets, don't wait until the end to get your music. See if you can get it earlier.
It kind of sounded like one of the Final Fantasy songs just slowed down a little bit, or maybe it was a remix of one of the songs.
Oh yeah, it could be. Okay, here is yet another one for us. Pretty cool, huh? Atlantis. All right.
So is Atlantis actually real?
Yeah. So Atlantis, did they ever find Atlantis? Is it based on a real city?
Well, that's why I asked. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Let's look it up. Let me go here. Wikipedia. Atlantis. Oh, it says fictional. Island mentioned in an allegory on the hubris of nations in Plato's work. It represents the antagonist naval power that besieges ancient Athens, the pseudo-historic embodiment of Plato's ideal state in the Republic. In the story, Athens repels the Atlantean attack unlike any other nation of the known world. supposedly bearing witness to the superiority of Plato's concept of a state. The story concludes with Atlantis falling out of favor with the deities and submerged into the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so it was using it like as a metaphor to make his argument in this in the Republic. Um, they were, I guess, arrogant enough to attack this other Athens, and so they fell out of favor with the gods, and the gods sunk them. Oh, so Laura says she's doing her video about Atlantis, so that's cool. Atlantis is so fascinating. I love everything about that. I love all the Aquaman movies and all that cool stuff. So yeah, feel free to do that. And maybe you can get some inspiration from this video we just saw. Um, I like Courtney's comment. It says, this reminds me of the Magic School Bus. So was that the Atlantis one, Courtney, you're referring to? Or there's at least one article a year where someone discovers Atlantis. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, like, I guess I never knew, like you asked earlier, I guess I never knew if Atlantis was based on a real place. And people are always, and I partially thought maybe it was because you always hear these stories in the back of your mind, or you see in the corner of a newspaper that somebody has found something they think was Atlantis. So you're like, oh, maybe they found the real place or whatever it was based on. But I guess it was just, complete fiction. But of course, that doesn't mean that there haven't been cities that have been submerged underneath water. Certainly there have, and they've found them. Let's see, I'm reading the chat here. We have an option that they didn't have back then. We now have fake news and alternative truth, so it could be alternately true. That's true. I like that argument that, like, why not? Why nowadays truth is relative, so it's true if you want it to be, I guess is the answer. And then let's see. Okay, so let's go back and watch a couple more of these things. Okay, so we saw Atlantis. Got a few more to watch here. I like that. Now, have any of you guys been to Savannah, Georgia, or any of you from there? I didn't know that it was reputed to be a haunted town or have a lot of haunted locales. You guys know?
I think Savannah and Charleston, South Carolina have the most haunted places. But I was covering my eyes during that because I thought there was going to be a jump scare.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. It'd be kind of fun if you're going to that part of the country to go to some of those. And you guys like to do that, go to haunted houses or anything like that? Let's see. Gabriel said he'd been there in the early 80s. Luz says she likes to go. Somebody told me about this place. I want to say it's in Arizona. I don't know. But it's basically a hotel with haunted rooms. And you can rent like the haunted room and spend the night there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's like a gift I would give to somebody I don't like. Hey, I got you this hotel room. I wouldn't tell them it's haunted. But let's see. I want to go to a haunted abandoned hospital. Wow, that would be pretty cool and creepy. That's like a double creepy thing, haunted and a hospital. Let's see. Yeah, that would be a great gift for somebody you don't like. Yeah, Rachel loves haunted houses too. Well, of course, and we're coming up that time of year, Halloween, when haunted houses are in fashion. I guess they're always in fashion for people who dig them. So Jacob says he went to the Whaley House earlier this month. It was pretty spooky. So Jacob, where's the Whaley House? And if I'm pronouncing that correct, is it here, or is it somewhere else? Old Town, San Diego. Oh, I was just in San Diego. I didn't know they had a haunted house. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. Cleo says I ate at a mental hospital that was turned into a hotel restaurant once. Ooh, was it creepy? Jacob says that's sick. Uh,
But it was pretty cool.
was it?
Yeah,
Where was it located?
I don't remember. I'll have to ask. The waiter also looked a lot like Snape from Harry Potter, so that really added to the whole mood of it.
He looked like Snape.
Yeah, or talked like him more. It was
Oh,
funny.
gosh, creepy. You know, when you think about it, that would be a great business to start, like to have a haunted restaurant or something like that. I bet you would just always be full.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's see. Hope they change the menu at least. That's pretty funny. Um, okay, so we got a few more here. Let's. I think this next one coincidentally happens to be a haunted place too. I think there might even CC. I think there might even be a haunted hospital in this. Uh, Actually, some of these. Let's see. Uh, I don't know. It's possible I might have a project in here from one of the students that's currently in this class. If so, let me know. But here's one that has, I think, a haunted hospital in it. Pretty nice, huh? The little dramatic ending there, the special effects. You guys like that?
Yeah,
That
I
one was
liked
a
how
good
the
one. I like
music
that.
the music changed too.
Yeah, yeah. Like the music and the video just kind of synchronized and kind of melted down. Yeah, the music was really good. Okay, a few more here. Here's a nice one.
Hallelujah.
Hello,
This
kid.
is a real man's game. Howdy.
Mais bonjour.
I can already tell
Hey,
you're
folks.
a heartbreaker. What have we here?
Careful. Hey.
All right, some pretty fun games there. I saw some of you guys mention you play those games, you dig those games. Very nice. Okay, So we got just about 3 more here. Let me go ahead and start this one up.
Mommy told me something a little girl should know. It's all about the devil, and I've learned to hate him so. She said he causes trouble when you let him in the room. He will never ever leave you if your heart is filled with gloom. So let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Smilers never lose, and frowners never win. So let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Open up your heart and let the sun shine in.
Okay. 2 more here. Okay. That was pretty fun. I like the text that was just kind of waving around, floating around in the void. I thought he did a really nice job. The music was interesting. The only criticism I would have for this is maybe that text at the end, maybe leave it on longer so we can read it before it fades out. I think he just, ended right at 1 minute. What I would tell you guys about your endings is, no matter how long or short your project is, go ahead and give us a nice smooth ending. Fade the music and the audio down, fade to black, whatever you need to do. But just it's much better to just fade nicely than just cut it off, right? Because when I say like your videos need to be a minute or 30 seconds or whatever, that's an approximation. You can go a little before or a little after that. Yeah, it does. Lou said, "I love how eerie it feels." I agree. It's a combination of the music and the black and that really clever waving text that he found. And then this, I believe, is our last one here. Yeah. Okay. There's another one that just cut off, but you could easily just fade the music and the graphic if you want.
I don't know. I kind of like the sudden cutoff for this one.
You do. It's like sometimes it's
Exactly.
cool. It's like that.
Cooper's hungry.
Cooper's
Yeah,
hungry.
that dog leaves a good point.
We can hear Cooper. He's very hungry right now.
Okay. Cece,
wants
did you
cheese.
say something? I saw your little light come on here. Yeah, I mean, certainly you can use a short, sharp stop as a design element in your videos if you think it's appropriate. But most of them, it's nicer to just kind of fade them out. Okay, let's see. Let me close that. Okay, so did that help at all? Did that give you guys some ideas or some point of reference for your projects?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, cool. All right, so let me go back to the class website here. Okay, now does anybody have a project too that they've been working on where they've actually created like an animatic that we can look at?
I've got an animatic for mine in my drive.
Okay, cool.
Does like half of one count?
So would that just be an anime? Yeah, we can. You can show us yours if you want. What you got?
Sure, sounds good to me.
All right. Let me see. Let me go. Okay. So let's see. We're looking for Gabriel, Michael. Maybe it's just this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, Project 2 animatic right there.
Okay. Very nice. So, can you remind me, Gabriel, what yours is about again? Where are we going?
Yeah, we're going with Total Recall 3.0.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so the first one being a disaster, the second one being didn't launch, and this is the new third version of it. And I know it's copyrighted, but I'm not going to use this for anything except for a school project.
Yeah, and that's fine. Once again, copyright allows you to use material for educational purposes. So, if you wanted to use part of somebody's song or graphic or even a snippet of their video in a school project, it's unlikely that you would get sued. And even if they did, you would have an out, which is that the Copyright Act allows for a small percentage of something to be used for educational purposes. Cool. And then let's see, Kim, you had something.
It's not in the drive yet. My thing is deciding it wants to wait.
Okay. Does anybody else have a animatic that we can look at?
I have
something.
Okay, Rodney, you have something?
But it was on something like real, like a underwater museum tour, and I didn't have a lot of explaining involved. It was just more as showing the statues of the tour.
Okay.
So I don't know everything that's supposed to be there is there, but you can look at it. I give me some feedback on what I need to change, and I'll change it.
Okay. This one right here?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me. Nod my head, don't close my eyes. Halfway on a slow move. It's the same way you showed me. If you could fly, then you'd feel south. Up north, getting cold soon. But where it is, we're on land. So I'm someone to hold true. Keep you cool when it's still alive. Won't let you down when it's all ruined. Just the same way you showed me. Showed me. You showed me love. Glory from above. Regardless, yeah. It's all done. never wait.
All right, what do you guys think?
That's epic.
Yeah, nice music, huh?
Yeah, that worked really well with it too.
Yeah. And man, who doesn't want to go see that? I mean, I totally want to get on some scuba gear and just swim around those sculptures. Wouldn't that be an amazing way to spend a day?
I mean, everybody's else's was more explanatory of.
Well, yeah.
You know,
So you're wondering if you want to keep the whole thing where like you show a graphic and then show the statues kind of thing?
Yeah, they switch it around, change it around, take a portion of it out, and switch it.
Well, I think it's a novel approach. I don't know what does the rest of the class think. Did you like his like he would show Obama speaking at a podium, and then he would say everybody likes the speaker, and then he would cut to the speaker statue. Do you guys like that kind of back and forth, or would you rather just see the statues? Do you have a third idea? What do you think? Let's see. Gabriel says, I like the way it is. It has a different flow, but it works.
I
And
like
Luke
how
said,
it was kind of like a mood board type of thing where you just have your thoughts flow. I like to.
yeah, I agree. I think that's a good explanation of it as a mood board. And I mean, I assume that if he keeps this concept, he'll clean everything up a bit. I would say, Rodney, unless we hear a lot of objections from people, that you could it probably works. But I would stay focused on the fact that your ad, this is supposed to be a travel ad. So in essence, you're trying to get people to go to this place. And I would say, always mention in your text how whatever you're showing is reinforcing why they need to get to this, island to get in the glass bottom boat and watch the statues.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Shows the importance of why you need to do it.
Yeah, like you're saying the dreamer, right? And you show somebody in an office and you say, we spend too much of our time in the office. Get away to an office that will really, set you free, and then you show the like office underwater. You know what I mean? Or
okay,
like I think that idea.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay, and so Gabriel says, so basically selling the travel plan. Yeah. I think you're already there. You're just reinforcing it. But yeah, really nice. I like the music, and man, I definitely want to go to that place. So let me know when you're going, Rodney. I'll hitch along. Okay.
All right. Cool.
All right, and then I think Daniel said he had one too. Let's see. I can never find his damn folder.
Sorry, man. I don't know why, right?
What's the whole email address?
D Carrion. I don't even remember.
Is there like a number on it or something?
No, just D Carrion. That's it.
Okay. I don't know why I'm always. Oh, there we are.
I didn't put too much words on it, but that's pretty much kind of like the scheme I'm looking for. So
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think these animatics really do help.
Yep.
Because you can see visually where you want to go during different parts of the project. You
Hmm.
can throw some music in there. You can even try transitions, all kinds of different things. Um, yeah, it looks really good. And then, so have you got some idea about the music? And
No ideas at all, though. I've been just working on animating the ship, kind of like traveling through space, and then yeah, but I haven't put any music at all.
okay, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, but it looks really good. And wow, just think about it. You think in our lifetimes will people actually get to Mars?
I have no idea. Well, Elon Musk, he's very positive about it, so I have no idea what's gonna happen. But yeah, that'll be cool, right? If one day we can just like take a ship to Mars and then
Let's just send all the Musks. Let's send Musk and his family.
yeah first, and then we'll
We'll
see,
call it.
right? What happens?
We'll rename it Musk instead of Mars, and he can
That's true, though.
maybe he can remotely run his companies from there. Um,
I know, right?
yeah.
Alrighty. I've uploaded mine. I don't know if it'll work. It's short.
Okay. We'll check it out.
The actual thing's gonna be so much longer.
So let's see. Joey says 20 years max to get to Mars, and Jacob says, "Heck yeah." I think it's possible that we'll see people going to Mars in our lifetime. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there. I mean, they could certainly launch from Earth on their way to Mars, but I don't know if we'll be around when they get there. I don't know how long it's going to take. But did you guys hear about the Russians like claiming Jupiter as their planet?
No.
It sounds crazy,
Oh my
but
gosh.
the Russians. There's this article that said I think it was Jupiter, maybe it was Venus. But the Russians said we're building a an expedition, a ship that's going to be an expedition to Jupiter, so we're going to claim it as our planet. I'm like, what? I want to claim a planet.
Oh my gosh, that's something else, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, think about that. The space race, now they're all like claiming planets. Pretty crazy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it says so. Jacob says that you can't even touch Jupiter. They're gonna try to live in a gas. And Gabriel Michael says Space Force. I wonder if it was Jupiter. Maybe it was Venus. Let me look it up real quick. Let's see. Russians claim planet is what I'll put in here. Oh, it's Venus. Sorry. Venus is a Russian planet, say the Russians. That's awesome. Isn't that awesome? Like, yeah, what
Yeah,
they
that's kind of
do.
cool, though.
They should just send a rocket that will plant a flag there, and then they can claim it theirs. Okay, so Kim. Kim.
I don't know if it's doing a funky thing or not.
Okay,
We'll find out.
this one?
Yes, the travel guide one.
Oh, I may have to download it. Yeah.
I don't know why it's being funky, because the other one will play just fine.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, well, it'll play. Look at all that audio I put in.
I'm trying to find the corner of it so I can make it bigger. Okay.
I'm opening like 20 different programs now. This is going to be fun.
Now, where are we again, Kim?
I picked the second game for Danganronpa.
Okay.
Because, heaven forbid, I like something other than that game.
So, what is there like bad monstery things out there?
Maybe, who knows?
Guess we'll find out.
You'll find out.
Well, I like it. I mean, even just a simple animatic like this where you put in the text and the pictures, it can help you get the pacing of the project. Once again, just putting music back there will help you figure out how the whole thing sounds and looks. So you're
Yeah,
definitely
because right now everything just seems like really long pauses, and I hate it because I read really fast.
right. Now remember to make your presentation for people who don't read really fast.
Yeah,
Uh, the rule,
that's my struggle.
yeah,
Okay, it looks good.
the rule of thumb is to leave it on screen long enough that you could read it 3 times, and that way a slow reader could read it once.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that would be like putting steel spikes in your eyes, Kim, but you may have to try it.
I will make the attempt.
Not the
Speaking of
spike.
eyes, I forgot my glasses.
Oh, okay. That sucks.
It's fine. They're somewhere in the house.
Let's see. So Spike says Venus. Are they thinking of the same Venus, the one with gravity that's crushed every rover that made it? Incredibly toxic, acidic air, one that has a surface temperature that melts most metals. Gotta respect the Russians. I don't know
Maybe
what
that's
they're
just like
thinking.
slightly warmer weather for them. That's fine.
Soviet planet. That's what it is. It's a Soviet planet. Okay, Kim, this looks good.
Awesome.
All right. Any other animatics floating around out there in animatic world? Kaleo? Okay. Oh. All right. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
Really good.
Seems kind of suspicious.
Really? You
Maybe
think
just a little.
you think a meat grinder mascot is suspicious?
Nah.
You're being paranoid.
Probably.
I don't know. Well, I thought that was really well done, Kaleo. You got a lot of cool things, placeholder art and transitions from one thing to the next. And you seem to have spent some time thinking about the amount of time you're going to spend on each scene. You have something there for a certain amount of time before it goes on to something else. So, you're really getting the most out of your animatic. You're using it as like a placeholder for your final project and setting the pacing of the whole project, which is what animatics are really good for. Laura says she likes your drawings, and Jacob says, I guess I'll just be a burger now. So I guess that's, I wonder if there's like a vegetarian version of that hotel, where they turn you into orange or something. I don't know. The whole concept's pretty fun. Okay, very nice. Anybody else have a animatic? See, Scott says, Rodney says, creepily good, love animation in MoveTube. All right. Okay, cool. Well, nice job on your animatics. Those of you who haven't made one, see if you can put an animatic together. Like I said, you can show it to us. We can give you some feedback on it, and it can help you with your final movie, you know, with the pacing and where everything goes. You can try out different kinds of music and graphics and text and see what's working. Okay, so let's go back to the class website here. So I have a tutorial for us to do. It's a little bit of a long tutorial, so I try to do half of it on one day and half of it the next day. But what it's going to require you guys to download a file. So if you go to the class website and click on this flying saucer tutorial, and then click this get files thing here, and it will download your thingy. And then you can unzip that. Let's see. Must be up here. I don't know where it went. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's called the UFO project. So I usually take this folder and just drag it into something like my documents folder so it's easy to find. Instead of downloads, I seem to never be able to find anything in there. So then here we have it, the UFO project. And it's a series of short video tutorials. So we'll see if we can get a couple of them done today. And then I'll give you guys some time to work on your project 2. And then we'll do the other videos on Wednesday. So once you open this up, then you want to open the very first video here, which is UFO comp project. And so I'm going to double click on that. Whoa, okay, After Effects, thank you for playing. Let me try again. Okay, and it'll always, some of these tutorials are older, and so they always have to convert to the latest version of After Effects. Okay, so this is what the first project or the first video looks like. And then what we'll do is we'll go to the website and watch the video.
In this beginner tutorial, we're going to use After Effects to create a convincing UFO flyby video that's designed to look like handheld footage shot with a cell phone. Once we've launched Adobe After Effects, we'll see the Start screen. And while it does a lot of important stuff, we're going to start from scratch with a blank project, which is After Effects default, so we can just close it. First things first, we need to add some footage to our blank project.
Okay, I guess I gave you guys bad advice when I opened that very first scene there. So let's ignore my advice and let's start with a new project. Let's go File, New Project, and don't save this one. And so boom, we'll have a tabula rasa or a blank screen to work from.
Question, is the program breaking a part of the lesson?
No, is it supposed to be, is it breaking apart on your computer?
Maybe just a little bit.
Nope. The best of my knowledge, the program does not self-destruct during this lesson.
Oh, man.
File import works, of course. But there are lots of ways to do things in After Effects, and a quicker way is to simply double-click on the project panel to open up the import dialog box. Or, if you have your footage window open in your Finder or Explorer, like I have here, we can also simply drag elements from their folder into the project panel. Whichever way you choose, make sure to import Background 4K, Corn Moon, Lamp Post, UFO, and UFO Audio.
Okay, so he's saying that there's different ways to bring things into After Effects. You can just go File, Import, right, and import a file or multiple files. You can double click in here, which is a super quick way to do it. Or you can also just open a folder, like if you open your UFO project folder and then open your footage folder, you can just drag and drop all this stuff in here. Now, there's a couple things I'm not supposed to bring in here right now. Let's see, I don't think we want saucer. Let me see what all we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see if I can figure them all out. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got too many. Okay, let's see. We want the background, we want the corner, we want the lamp. We don't want UFO 2, so we'll turn that off. And we don't want moon UFO green. We'll turn that off. So anyway, you can select these 5 files if you want. And then what you can do is you can just drag them into your program here. So click on those and drag them over here and let go of them in the project window, and it will import all of those.
Clicking on each element reveals important information at the top of the project panel. Background is a 4K video clip shot at 24 frames per second. Corn Moon is 1280 by 720 at 2997 frames per second. Lamp Post is an Adobe Photoshop file with transparency. And UFO is a simple 3D model created in Cinema 4D and exported as a QuickTime animation file with transparency. One way to tell if an element has transparency is if the description includes millions of colors plus. The plus usually indicates an alpha channel, which is used for transparency. We can also double-click any element to open it in the clip viewer, where we can play back the clip with the spacebar and click on the checkerboard at the bottom here to confirm that this element is in fact on a transparent background.
Now, one of the things that happens a lot in After Effects is you think you're clicking on an item, but you actually end up double clicking on it, and then it launches in this weird window and you're not sure what happens. And that's what he calls the clip viewer, right? So keep in mind that you can have a composition that you're working on down at the bottom of the screen here. You can see it here and you can work on it down here. But if you double click on something over here, it's not your main viewer. It's like a personal viewer into this one object. So like if we double click on this UFO.mov and hit our, let's see, space bar, then the movie will play. Mine is doing this weird thing where it only rendered part of the movie and then it stopped playing. And that has to do with my the RAM on my computer is pretty sketchy right now. So anyway, but if I drag it through here, you can see the whole thing playing. But you see it with a black background. Now the black background is just so you can see it. But if you come down here and you click on this little icon at the bottom of this clip viewer that looks like a transparent checkerboard, now you see the checkerboard pattern, which represents transparency. So that means that this was actually exported with a transparent background, so you can put it on top of some other footage. Okay, let's go back to the video.
And the last clip is our audio file. In After Effects, we do our design work using compositions. Making one is as easy as selecting a menu item, using its associated shortcut, which you can see in the menu, or in our case, we're going to create a new composition by selecting our background 4K element and dragging it onto our comp icon at the bottom of the project window, the one that looks like a little film frame.
Okay, so different ways to make compositions in After Effects. Now, if we want to get rid of this thing right here, all we have to do is click this little X up here in the corner of it, and it will go away, and we can see our regular screen here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is start a new composition, and there's different ways to do that. You can create a new composition just by going File, New, let's see, Composition, new composition would be one way to do it. Also, you can hit Command N on a Mac, and then the equivalent on a PC, I think it's Control N. You can also take some video footage and drag it down to this little icon here, and that will make a new composition. Or you could drag it to this new composition from footage. But let's go ahead and grab this background movie here and drag it on top of this colored icon at the bottom. And what it will do is it will create a new composition. This is what we call the master composition. So in other words, everything else that you import into this movie is going to take on the attributes of this. In other words, it's going to make it last as long as this. It's going to give it the same frame rate as this. It's going to give it the same resolution as this. So whatever you start your movie with or your project with in After Effects, that becomes the master composition to which everything else conforms.
You'll notice that quite a few things have changed on screen. A new item has shown up in the project panel, named the same as our background layer. Click it and see that the new comp has inherited the size and the frame rate of the clip we just dragged on the comp icon, which is perfect for our project. If we want to rename the comp so it's more distinctive in the project panel, we can select it, press Enter on the keyboard, and edit it. In my case, I'll get rid of the 4K at the end.
Okay, so we want to rename that. So let's, we can click on the comp up here, hit our enter button, and then just get rid of the 4K.
In addition, we now have a comp window here, which is where we can see the results of our work, and a timeline, where we control animation, navigate time, and stacking order, among other things. Like most other Adobe apps, there are a lot of panels available to us, some of them visible by default, and others accessible through the window menu. One panel that we'll use again and again is the preview panel, which contains playback controls so we can check our work in full motion. You can also initiate playback by tapping the spacebar, as long as the comp window or the timeline window is active when you do. Panels can be docked together in tabbed groups. For this project, the important panels to have open are the ones I've mentioned so far, as well as the Effects and Presets panel and the Info panel. These should all be open by default, unless you've loaded another workspace or otherwise modified things. If they aren't visible, you can just reload the standard workspace, or if you don't want to do that, you can choose them individually from the window menu. Make sure they're all open and available, and you're ready to start working on our UFO project.
Okay, so that's the first video. We're going to watch 3 of these today. And they're all really short. So here's the second one. Oh, well, let me go, before I go to that, let me go back to the screen here. Notice that you're working in what's called a certain interface, right? And your interface may look different from mine. If I go up here and I go Window, Workspace, you can see that there's all of these different workspaces that I can work within, right? There's something called Default, there's Essential Graphics, there's Motion Tracking, and so on. Looks like I'm here in the standard workspace. I've got my info, I've got my playback buttons here. Looks like I've got some kind of library here. And of course, every time you change this, you're going to get different settings. So if I go to Workspace, Default, well, I guess Default looks a little differently. One of the nice things about Default is now I can see my Effects and Presets panel here, which opens up like so, and so on and so forth. So if you don't have at least Info and Preview and Effects and Presets, you might want to reset to Default. You can also do it by clicking on these little buttons up here. These will also take you to the different workspaces. Okay, now we're going to watch the second video.
Now that you've imported assets, you're ready to start working. You can also open the Part 2 project file and just start from there. The special effects shot that we're trying to accomplish is relatively simple. I shot a wide-angle lockdown shot of Manhattan from Eagle Rock, New Jersey, which offers a spectacular panoramic view of New York City. We're going to composite some convincing full moon footage into the scene to give us an excuse to zoom into our large background. After a few seconds, a UFO will fly through the scene and will animate our view to simulate a camera following the move. And to finish it all up, we'll add some effects to make everything appear as if it's really in the same scene together. We'll wiggle our camera to create a more convincing handheld camera effect, and we'll add some audio to help sell the story. The first step is to combine our elements in the big background comp, starting with the background movie and our moon movie. Make sure the time marker is on the first frame of the comp. In the first segment, we notice that the moon clip is a different size and running at a different frame rate from our background layer. We don't care at all because After Effects is happy to combine elements of different sizes and frame rates in the same comp. You'll see that the moon comes in at its smaller native resolution, which is fine.
Okay, so this is pretty cool. This is sort of a demo of how you can take different footage and comp it together so that it all looks like it belongs together. So what we're going to do is click on the corn moon and just drag that over here. And as he said, this was originally a different size and different frame rate from the main one, but the second you drag it into the composition, it conforms to the frame rate of the master composition.
I'm going to scale it down a little more, in fact, by just dragging a corner point while pressing the Shift key to constrain proportions.
Okay, so now we can take this file and make it a little smaller. So click on one of the corners, start to drag it in, and then hold your Shift key down so that it scales proportionately.
If I watch the info panel as I drag, I can get feedback about the scale, and I'll stop when I'm just a little above 50%.
Okay, so I might want to do mine again. So I can open up my info palette. I can do Command Z or Control Z to go back to where I was, and then if I click on this and hold my Shift key down, looks like I'm at 87, 60. Okay, so just a little bit over 50%, and I want to stop. And you can also grab the bottom of this info palette and drag it down so you can see these percentages too.
Next, I'll drag the moon to this area slightly left of the center of the comp. I'll also zoom in slightly.
Okay, so on my screen it's kind of hard to see everything. I might want to make my screen a little bigger here. Hold on just a second. Okay, but you notice how you can't see everything on my screen? Well, I can easily fix that. I can click down here and just choose fit, and it will fit everything on the screen, right? Now, he wants you to take this moon and put it over here just slightly off center over to the left. Oh, and he wants us to zoom in as well. A couple ways you can zoom in. You can use this drop-down menu here to zoom in to like 200% or something, or you could hold down your Command or Control key and hit the plus symbol to zoom in, the minus symbol to zoom out.
Using the roll wheel on my mouse, or if I don't have a mouse, I can use Command plus and minus on a Mac or Control plus and minus on Windows, or I can use the zoom pop-up at the bottom of the comp window. And even though the space bar is used to start and stop playback, it can also be held down to quickly access the pan tool, which allows us to drag with the mouse to reposition the screen, which we'll do now to arrange the screen like we see here.
Okay, so you want to arrange your screen so it looks something like this. So I could probably zoom in a little more, so I can hold down my Command key and hit the plus. Then I can hold down my space bar. I get this hand tool and I can drag this over to here. I think I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Let's see, I'm at 200%. You can even put in, let's see, it's not going to let me put in a specific number here. What a drag. Okay, well, I'll just live with that. That's good enough for me.
Down in the timeline, you'll notice that we now have two layers, the background and the moon. If you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop, a lot of what you see here may look familiar. You can turn visibility on and off by toggling the eyeballs, change stacking order just by dragging. If you play around with this, make sure the moon ends up back on top. And if you click on the toggle switches/modes button at the bottom, you can even reveal all of the familiar blend modes from Photoshop, which allow you to mix pixels together. Unlike Photoshop, however, everything you do in After Effects is non-destructive by default, so you can always play around without fear of messing things up permanently. There are lots of switches and buttons in the timeline too. Notice these triangles to the left of the layer name. Click on the triangle for the moon layer, and you'll see some really important stuff. Click next to Transform and reveal the geometric properties for the layer. This is where you can fine-tune how a layer looks, and even animate these properties. If we make sure our modes are visible by using the toggle button, choose one of the light modes, which occupy this second section. I settled on Classic Color Dodge, which I like because it picks up some of the underlying grain, which will help ready to start working. You can
Sorry.
also
I jumped ahead there. So let's go, or jump back actually. So what we want to do is click on the corn moon layer here. And you have this toggle switches modes button down here. The way that you can tell which you're in, whether you're in the switches or the switches are all of these check boxes, and the modes actually have the word mode up here. So once you go into the mode view of this, click on the drop down that says normal, and then come down here and choose Classic Color Dodge as your choice. You can see that the moon already looks like it belongs in there a little better. Let me forward this to where we were. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
Occupy this second section. I settled on Classic Color Dodge, which I like because it picks up some of the underlying grain, which will help sell the final composite. This is obviously blown out, and the layer creates a noticeable sharp edge, but fortunately both of these things are easy to fix. Let's start with the sharp edge. Making sure the moon layer is selected, choose the rectangular mask tool, and drag out a rectangle that's as wide as the layer, but not quite as tall.
Okay, so remember that if you use a shape tool with nothing selected, you create a shape layer. If you use a shape tool when a layer is selected, you're creating a mask. And a mask, of course, is a window that only shows, what's behind it, or what you can see through the hole. So we're basically making like a little mask on this layer. So, okay, go back to After Effects. Click on the rectangle tool here. Come up here and start basically at the edge of this little moon file here. Click and drag over until you see the edge, right, and come back. And then come up so that you are basically creating a mask that only shows this much of the moon video and cuts off the rough edges.
It should visibly clip off the bottom of the moon, like so. Once you've done this, notice that a new property has shown up in the moon layer called Mask 1. Twirl this open, find Mask Feather, click and drag this value up to about 180. This solves our hard edge problem, but
okay, so the way that he solved the hard edge of this video was to create a mask, right? And then to open the Mask 1 layer, go to Mask Feather, and you can click on that number and you can change it to 180. And what that does is, feathering, of course, is blurring out the edges of something. It blurs out the edges of the Corn Moon movie, so they're so blurred out that it just kind of fades into the movie in the background. And so we get what looks like it belongs in this scene.
may seem like overkill. Fortunately, it also makes it seem like the moon is emerging from a soft cloud, which I like. Drag the time marker and see how it moves. Next, let's take down the opacity of the moon. It doesn't need to be nearly this bright. I'll drag the opacity down to just over 50%.
Okay, so mask opacity, let's see. So we'll take that down to maybe 51, 52%. You can see already how much better this is looking in the scene.
It's looking better, but there's still some light spill and color bleeding that looks artificial. Some basic color correction effects will fix that. Applying effects in After Effects is easy. The Effect menu lets you easily rummage through hierarchical menus to see the hundreds of effects and filters available to you. Once you get to know what's in there, you'll probably prefer the Effects and Presets panel because of its nifty search feature. If you click in Search and type Levels, for example, you can quickly locate the Levels filter and apply it by dragging it from here onto the layer, either in the timeline or the comp window.
Okay. So you want to find your effects and presets over here on the right. Click on that. Click in the search box and type in the word levels. Notice you get a bunch of different options. We want this one that's just called levels under color correction. Click on the icon to the left of the word levels. Drag it. Now you can drag it right on top of the moon video here, or you can drag it right on top of the moon layer. That's what I like to do, so I don't miss it and accidentally drag it on the wrong thing up in here.
This automatically opens up the Effect Control panel over here, where we can interact with the Levels filter just like in Photoshop. In this case, we're going to drag this top left triangle to the right, which will clip the darker pixels to black and get rid of the extra haze.
Okay, so we're going to work with this special effect a little bit. We've got a histogram over here. A histogram, of course, shows you like a map of the different colors in the image, in this case the video, and it's showing you like different colors and how prevalent they are in the video. But if you click on this little arrow underneath it and move it over to the left a bit, maybe move it over right so it goes right after where this big drop off is in the white, it's going to clip out some of the dark pixels and make this flow together a little better. Oh, it looks like he went even further than that. Let me go down as far as he goes, just so we get the same effect. So it seems like he went almost all the way down to here. So pull almost all the way down to where that white meets the bottom here.
There's still a little unwanted blue color overwhelming the effect, so let's go back to the Effect and Presets panel and type Hue to bring up the hue saturation effect. Since the moon layer is still selected, we can apply it by simply double-clicking it, and then...
Okay, so in your Effects and Presets, click this X to clear out the search box. Type in the word hue, H-U-E. Come down here, locate hue saturation, and so this time just simply double-click on it, and it will apply it to that effect. Now, your effects all stack up in this effects window over here, and they can get kind of confusing. So you can close your top effects so you can work on the bottom ones. To close the top one, just click on this disclosure triangle to the left of the letters FX next to levels, and it will close that up, so now we can just see hue saturation. Now the hue saturation is the same type of effect that you have in Photoshop. So if you've used Photoshop, you've got an advantage at using After Effects.
Drag the saturation slider down to get rid of the blue. This is looking pretty good. While we're still zoomed in.
Okay, so now we want to drag the saturation slider down. Now I guess I should zoom in a little more because I'm out pretty far. But your saturation slider, of course, if you drag it all the way to the right, it will saturate the hell out of the colors. It'll be like really bright versions of the colors. If you drag it all the way to the left, it will become black and white. It will desaturate or remove all the colors from your image. But he dragged his almost all the way to the left. So if we click on this and we drag it almost all the way to the left, you can see what it does is it essentially desaturates or takes the blue out of the moon, making it more black and whitish, which fits the scene a little better.
Let's preview our moon effect by tapping the spacebar. Once the moon gets going at full speed, we can see that it's already starting to look pretty nice.
Okay, so you can preview this, hit your spacebar. Sorry, I have some audio on mine that I have to mute. And you can mute things by clicking on the speaker icon, and that will turn those things off. It'll turn off the sound of those. Okay, so now I can watch my moon kind of roll across the sky. Of course, the video on my machine has to render first, and because I don't have as much RAM as I could, it's a little slow. I'm probably due for some more RAM here. But once it goes all the way across the screen, it's completely rendered the video. Once that green line is all the way across, and then it will play again, and it will play faster. And depending on your computer speed, you're either already there or you're still waiting, like me. But here we go. Okay, so now it's playing at real speed, and of course I'm zoomed in really close, which is why it looks so pixelated. And you can hit your spacebar to stop. The other reason it looks really pixelated is I'm on this thing called quarter, which is quarter resolution, which means it's not going to look very good, but After Effects is going to move very quickly. If I change this to full, it would look awesome, but it would be really slow. So I prefer the quick right now. Okay, so that's the second video. We just have one more we're going to watch today. This one is going to be us adding some animation.
Now that our background has a new moon, it's time to add the UFO to the scene. You can also open up the Part 3 project file and just start from there. This UFO was created and animated in Cinema 4D.
Okay, so first of all, let's grab the UFO and drag it onto the screen. So you want to zoom all the way out so you can go fit like this. Over here, when your effects window is showing, if you want to get back to your projects window, click on this double-headed arrow here and come over here and select project, and you'll see these again. Now you can click on the UFO MOV and just drag that onto the screen. And let's see. There's my UFO right there at the top. Make sure you drag your playback head back to the beginning of the scene.
A version of which comes bundled with After Effects. I went ahead and pre-animated a basic flight through the scene from up left and close to down right and far away, with the resulting perspective shift. But even as I animated it in Cinema 4D, I knew I would be tweaking the results by further animating the layer within After Effects. You'll notice, if you look in the timeline, that the UFO clip is shorter at 10 seconds than the background clip, which is 15 seconds long. This is fine, since I don't want the UFO to appear until the 5-second mark anyway, and then play out to the end. If you click on the layer bar and hold the Shift key down as you drag the clip to the right, it'll snap to the end of the comp.
Okay, so let's try that. He calls it a layer bar. I call it a content block. But if you click on this little block of content here, start to drag to right, and then hold the Shift key, the Shift key will get it to snap into place. It'll snap down there at the end of the composition.
After Effects has a few different ways to animate things, but the most common way is with keyframes. Let's say I want the first frame of the UFO movie to start off-screen left, and at the end I want it to end up just to the right of the Chrysler Building. Well, on the first frame of the UFO clip, which we can snap to by moving the time indicator with the Shift key down, we'll drag the element in the comp window until the UFO disappears off stage left.
Okay, so using that Shift key is pretty handy when you're on the timeline. So if you grab your playback head and you start to drag it over towards this 5-second mark here, hold down your Shift key right before you get to that beginning of the content block, and it should snap your playback head to the beginning of that content block. Then you want to grab your UFO movie and you want to move the UFO so it's just off the screen at that point, right? So right up to here, right off the screen.
Now we twirl open the transform properties and click on the stopwatch next to the position property. This enables animation for the position property as well as setting a keyframe, which you can see here. Now we move to the last frame and drag the UFO clip over until the ship is to the right of the Chrysler Building. The position values for the layer have now changed, and this automatically sets another position keyframe.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to close up my corn movie file here, my layer. I'm going to open up UFO movie and open up transform. I'm going to click the stopwatch next to position, which is going to set a keyframe. Then I'm going to move this playback head all the way to the end of my movie. Now I'm going to grab my UFO movie and I'm going to move this little ship, which is now very small, to the right of what's called the Chrysler Building, which is, I'll zoom in on this. The Chrysler Building is this little triangle of light that's right here. It's a very unusual shaped building in New York City. So that's where you want to drag your UFO so that it is to the right of that. And you'll see this little weirdo line appear here when you do that. And that line represents the motion of this footage moving from about 5 seconds till the end. It moves from the top left down, and that's why the line looks like that.
After Effects will smoothly interpolate between these two keyframes to create the animation. By the way, there's no need to click the stopwatch again. In fact, if you did, you would turn off animation for the layer, so you don't want to do that here. Now, the positional values that you see in the timeline, and represented visually as this Bezier path in the comp window, are relative to the center of the UFO layer by default. So don't let it confuse you that they don't appear to be attached to the UFO itself. I'll zoom out with my mouse wheel and show you that since I pre-rendered the UFO movie in Cinema 4D for you, After Effects sees the whole movie as one big rectangular object, even though most of it is transparent. And After Effects always sets the anchor point of a layer in the center by default. Well, if you scrub to the middle of the timeline, you can see that the UFO is close to passing in front of the moon. So if you just drag the layer down, you can see that a new keyframe is created, and Bezier handles have appeared that'll let you further tweak the shape of the path if you like.
Okay, so let's try this out. So this path is what I refer to as a motion path. It's a Bezier line that shows the amount of change from the first frame to the last one. Now, if you take your playback head and you drag it over here, drag it so that the spaceship is basically right above the moon, okay? Now, if you leave it there, if you come and you click in the middle of this line, this Bezier motion path here, you click in the center and you drag it down, what it does is it creates a brand new keyframe here. It creates a keyframe there, and it also creates a frame here, which is adjusting this Bezier curve. So it's actually adjusting the path that this spaceship will take as it's animating across the screen. So we can move this down so it goes in front of the moon. We can leave it a little above the moon. We can even drag out these handles and curve it so that it takes a more curved approach as it flies.
Almost everything in After Effects can be animated with keyframes, including effects. If you zoom out to see where you are so far, you'll see that the ship's motion is great now, but its color is not convincing for the scene.
Now, whether or not your ship's motion is great is really dependent on how you drag this thing down. If we go back up to the fit here, we can see all the motion of the spaceship. So we go back to around 5 seconds. We start dragging it down. It looks like, yeah, it looks like it actually does work out. If you just have a curve, kind of like what I have here or what he did, it forces the ship to drop down enough so that it makes kind of a smooth transition over to here.
That's because in the real world, when an object is far away, the colors become low contrast and muted by haze in the atmosphere. Look at the background video and note that the darkest shadows in the city are really medium gray, and the shadows in the trees in the nearer foreground are much darker. To make this look more convincing, we need to correct the color of the UFO so that the shadows look better and animate the shadow color as the ship appears into the distance. A super simple tool for doing this is the tint filter. Tint maps the lightest and the darkest portions of an image to colors of your choosing. If you go to where the UFO first appears and apply tint, notice that the image goes black and white, and in the effects control panel you'll see that the default colors are in fact black and white.
Okay, so let's try that. So we're going to come over to our effects and presets, click the X to open that up. To get rid of the search whatever in the search box, type the word tint. When we see tint, we're going to click on that, and you can just double click on it, I believe, at this point, because it will apply it to the layer. And now we see if we, okay, let me undo that. I was supposed to take my playback head and drag it back to the beginning of this whole rocket UFO thing. So I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna bring it in to where my ship starts to come onto the scene here, so I can see it. And now I'm gonna take tint and double click on it. Okay, so now with my playback head around there, I've applied tint. It turned that black and white.
But if you click the eyedropper for the black value and choose something from the shadows down left in our image, and then with the highlights, click the chip and choose a pale color such as yellow.
Okay, so now what he's doing, he's going to tint the saucer so that at the beginning of its movie, it's dark in the same way that the front of the video of the city is dark. So we'll accomplish that by clicking on this black eyedropper and coming down here and selecting some of the black from the bottom of the scene here. And so what that'll do is it'll change the color of this so that it kind of matches the black in this scene here. Then next we want to click on the white, which is this light part here. In this case, you can click on the actual white color and it'll bring up a color picker here. And what you want to do is you want to go to the yellow over here on the right, and you want to select like a pale yellow color, sort of a yellow-white color, and that will color the lights underneath the ship that color.
You'll see that the ship now looks more like it belongs in the scene. You can further tweak the effect with the amount to tint slider, which fades the color effect. Click.
Okay, so you can try the amount to tint slider. So click on this and drag it to the left, and it fades the color. Drag it to the right, it makes it more intense. So you can drag it off. I dragged mine down to about 52% to make it look a little better.
On the stopwatches for both color chips to enable animation. Then move.
Okay, now, like I said, everything in Adobe Animate can be animated, practically everything. And now we're actually going to animate tint. So to do that, go ahead and click on the stopwatches for the top two, map black 2 and map white 2. That's going to create stopwatches here, or keyframes here, I should say. And then when we create keyframes later on, it's going to actually animate the tint, so the tint's going to change over time.
Move closer to the end of the timeline. Use the eyedroppers to sample elements from the distance this time.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is move our playback head so that that ship gets down to the right of the Chrysler building. So click on this, drag it over. When the ship is over to the right of the Chrysler building, so almost all the way to the end. What you can do, and this would be a good time to zoom in. So I'm going to zoom into like 200%. And of course, you can hold down your space bar and you'll get the hand tool and you can drag this over. So now what you want to do is click on the black eyedropper tool and select one of these dark gray buildings here. It will change the black of the spaceship to that. Then click on the color picker for the yellow color and select one of the little lights inside of the Chrysler building. And that will make your spaceship look like it belongs in this scene here.
And now see how the ship appears to fit into the background much more convincingly. Remember that keyframes will be set for you automatically once you click the stopwatches. Scrub a bit to confirm that the colors are changing, and we're almost done with this segment. To add a little depth, let's add a foreground element for the ship to pass behind. In this case, I have a light post photo that I separated from its background in Photoshop. Drag that into the scene, making sure the layer starts at frame 0, and then drag it into position on the left side of the comp.
Okay, so let me show you all those steps he just did. So first of all, we're still looking at our effects over here, so we got to go back to the main project window. So click on these double-headed arrow and go to project. Next, we want to zoom out, so you can click down here and go fit. Okay, next we can close up our disclosure triangle here, and then we can grab our playback head and drag it all the way to the beginning, right? Now we want to find the lamppost.psd file and drag that onto the scene. And then we want to drag the lamppost over here to like the left-hand side of the stage,
in front of the other elements in the scene. Now we need to blur it a bit to give it the proper depth of field. Note that the closer elements, such as these trees, are blurrier than the distant objects, so the light pole will need to be even blurrier to look real. In the Effects and Presets panel, search for Camera Lens Blur.
Okay, so now we're going to find a new effect. So we're going to click the X in the effects box to clear it out. We're going to type in camera lens blur. And then since that layer is selected, we can just double click it to apply it,
which will produce our most realistic results, and apply it to our lamppost. A blur radius value of about 20 looks good.
Okay, so up there in blur radius value right here, it's 5. We're going to click on it and change it to 20. You're going to see your lamppost get a lot blurrier.
And a quick adjustment with the rotate tool will make the post look straight relative to the scene.
Okay, so now what you want to do is you're on the lamppost layer. You want to click on your rotation tool, which is this round circle right here in the toolbox. And then you can come down here and click and rotate the lamp and try and get the left edge of the lamp, or the lamppost I should say, lined up with the left edge of the document. So I'm going to click on this. Notice I can rotate it around. So I'm going to try and get it straight up and down using this as reference.
Let's preview our work so far. This is a 4K comp, so depending on your computer, you may or may not have room to cache all of these frames in RAM. If you encounter any issues, you can always reduce the resolution of the comp preview using the pop-up in the comp window here. The lower the resolution, the more frames you can fit into RAM.
Okay, so he wants us to preview it. Like I said, I have mine down here to quarter so that it can render effectively. So I'm going to press the space bar while I'm at the beginning of the scene here. And it's going to render pretty quickly. It's rendering the scene so that by the time the green bar is all the way drawn to the right, when it loops again, it should render at speed.
Odd question. How did you get your lamppost not to look like it's made of 3 whole pixels?
Well, let's see. Are you like super zoomed in, and does it say quarter down here?
Zoomed out, and hang on, my laptop's freezing, part 2.
Okay. So the fact that your your laptop's freezing might mean that it doesn't have a lot of RAM and that it's struggling to render this 4K composition.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, no, my lamppost, you can see all the pixels used to make it.
Okay, what does it say at the bottom of your screen? Does it say quarter?
I don't know. I'm confused.
Right
Where?
here.
Hang on. It's waiting to come up.
All right.
It says custom. I've just switched it to quarter. And it does look nicer. Okay. I'm so
Now, it's
confused
still
by
going to
that.
be, if you're in quarter, it's still going to be blurry. Like you can see mine and things are pretty squirrely. If I change this thing to full, uh, and then I try to render it again, it's gonna take longer. You can see how much slower it is rendering, and then but by the time it's done, it should be a much better look. So you can try changing yours to full just to see how good it can look, but it might take a long time to render. And then when you're done with that, change it back to quarter, and it will render a lot faster. Um, of course, it will look crappy. It will look like pixely on your screen. And
Fine with
that's
that.
what's that?
It's just I thought there was something wrong with my lamppost entirely. I didn't realize I just needed to switch a thing.
Okay, okay. Anyway, so what I would like you guys to do now is to save this project. We've watched all the videos for today, so go File, Save As, and then Save As again. And let's just call this My UFO. And you can save it in the same folder with all these other UFO projects here. Okay, so like I said, it's kind of a long tutorial, so we'll do the other 3 videos on Wednesday. But what I want to do now is I want to give you guys some time to work in class. So if you haven't finished your animatic, see if you can work on that. If you've already got an animatic and you want to polish it up, you can do that. And then if you want to take your animatic and start turning it into your final project, if you're at that level, you can do that as well. So let's see, any questions from you guys? Let's see, let me look in the chat here. It says, you work in quarter, does After Effects automatically export to full without having to change it manually to full? Let's see, that is my understanding that it does that, that it automatically always exports at full resolution. But I guess we could do an experiment and see what it does. But it's my understanding it always exports at full
I
resolution.
think you're right on that. I think that is strictly for previewing, is when you can change it to a quarter and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, any other questions from you guys?
I have something that's not about the products directly.
Okay.
It's I'm having a problem with Adobe Animate, where whenever I open it, it doesn't allow me to interact with the window at all. I actually have to Control Alt Delete just to close it.
Really?
Yeah.
So Adobe Animate is basically jacked up.
Yeah. Completely destroyed.
So what I would do is remove the program and then re-download it from Adobe. Like uninstall it and then re-download it. Did you hear that, Spike? Okay.
You cut out, but I understood what you were saying.
Okay.
Through the weird glitchiness.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Would you be mad if I hopped out and just restarted my entire computer?
No, go ahead.
Sweet, because that's probably what I'm going to have to do. It's messing up big time.
Okay. So, all right, I'm going to give you guys the rest of the class to work on your projects. See how far you can get, and then on Wednesday we'll check in and see what you've got. If you can show us an animatic, or even if you've polished up your animatic, or you start working on your final project, we'd love to see what you got. Okay, and so I'm gonna I'll turn my video off, but I'll leave my audio on. And so if you have a question, just pop in and ask it.
What were the websites that had the free music on it?
Okay, so there's a couple. One of them is bensound.com, and this is the one that has whole compositions, pre-canned music of specific lengths that will fit perfectly behind any project. And then there's like the Free Sound, I think it's Free Sound Archive. Sounds. No, that's not the one I want. What is the other one I want?
Free Music
Free
Archive?
Music Archive. Thank you. Free
Okay.
Music Archive, right. Now, the Free Music Archive actually has free and paid music. So, yeah, the other one's called Search Pro, but you want to do Search FMA, and then you can go in here to genres and find free music.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And then Spike says he's been using archive.gov, which as far as he can tell has everything that is on the public domain, period. Okay, let's look at that one. Archive.gov.
It's not very easy to like the search thing isn't very good, and it has not just music but like everything on the public domain.
Yeah,
most archives aren't very user friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's taken a while even to boot up. So, well, that's something you guys can check out. I mean, certainly it would be worth looking at for all the things that are available, right? Okay, so yeah, mine's taking forever to load, so I think I'm just gonna stop it. But check that out if you guys would like. All right, I'll give you guys some time to work, and if you have a question, just pop in and say hello, and I'll pop back in and answer it. Hey there, Kim. I let you into the class right as we're ending it.
Branding class.
Sorry.
How could you do this to me?
I'm
I was
sorry.
so ready to come back and actually learn now that my laptop decided it wanted to stop not existing, right?
I'm sorry. It's just the luck of the draw.
How
But
could you?
I'm cruel. Uh, hey, but anyway, you guys, I hope you have a good couple of days, and I'll look forward to seeing you and whatever work you've done on Wednesday. So have a good time, and I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. You have a good one too.
See you soon.